So for those of you that have kids, are your kids as competitive as mine? Because Scout designed a bar, and Eowyn, not to be outdone, decided that she wanted to as well, but she upped the ante in the most ridiculous, astronomical, all of these things included in one soap bar way that I had a tough time keeping up. And we are going to get into all of that in just a minute. But before I do, hi, I'm Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are here for day 58 of 365 days of soap, and today we're making a brand new bar designed by the Soap and Clay Kidlet #1. Now, she was very specific with the things that she wanted in this bar. First, she wanted it to smell like flowers, which is a tough sell for me because I don't like florals. 2, she wanted rainbows. Cool. 3, she wanted a cloud. Cool. 4, she wanted raindrops. Okay, and 5, she wanted that all in one area with rose gold on top and bottom. Okay, let's go see if I met all of her requirements.
So, raindrops and rainbows soap. Now, we're gonna do something a little bit different. I've never actually done this before, but this is the first time that I've ever actually used the same micas from, the same company. So we've got Voodoo going on there from Mad Mica, and Koi going on there also from Mad Micas. And we are doing bright yellow raincoat for the yellow. And for the green, we are going to be doing, what is that? Turn it around. Tahitian teal. Lovely, lovely color. And I really love the Mad Micas line. Honestly, I found their micas to be so true to color in every application. This is the Peacock from Mad Micas. And again, it's very rare that I actually have all of my micas from the same company. So I thought, hey, let's give Mad Micas a little plug here, and yeah, you should check out their micas. They're wonderful. They're very true to color. They don't do any sort of weird morphing, and I find that that's not the case with a lot of mica companies. So you should check them out. And this is Harold's Purple Crayon, which I literally bought just because of the name, because it's great. Now, this is the rose gold that Eowyn wanted, and we're going to be using Guava Lava. I don't know why I originally bought Guava Lava, because I don't believe it's lip safe, and I've never used it in soap, but it was Eowyn's version of rose gold, and I did not think it was going to actually, do what it needed to in the soap, but thought, hey, it's a good time to actually test it in cold process and see what it does, because Mad Mica's colorants are usually pretty awesome. So, we'll see how well this particular one works. So we have the 6 colors. They'll be for the rainbow, right? And the Guava Lava will be used for the actual rose gold color on the top and the bottom of the bar. In order to achieve the raindrops that she was talking about, we're going to use a mini teardrop method. Now, in order to do that, what I do is I use a squeeze bottle and I clip the bulb off of a pipette and some of the pipette as well to allow me a essentially longer nozzle to go ahead and insert into the soap batter and create the mini teardrop effect within the soaps. Okay, now there's a lot of colors going on here. There's a lot happening with this pour. So yeah, we are going to be using for this particular soap a 70-30 blend of liquid oils to solid oils. And the reason that I'm doing this is because you still have squeeze bottles that I showed you before. And I really want my soap batter. Yeah, you're not emulsified yet. Keep going. I really wanted my soap batter to stay reasonably fluid in order to essentially squeeze the mini teardrops in. And because of that, I'm using the 70% liquid oil blend for this. So we have argan oil, canola oil, hemp seed oil for the liquids, and then we have coconut and babasu for the solids. Now, once the soap has hit emulsification, which is right here, I'm going to pour off just about an ounce of each of the colors into the containers because I don't need much to do the mini teardrops. Because again, remember, we are putting 6 mini teardrops in because rainbow, and that's awesome. And it's a mini raindrop, so you don't need a lot. You need enough to essentially just put some into the actual container, the squeeze bottle, and do the thing. Now, the rest of the soap is going to be split into essentially 2 pieces. We will have one for the white that will exist as sort of the cloud in the middle of the bar, and then the soap that remains will be the rose gold color that will be on top and bottom of the bar. So what I am doing right now is I am measuring out the bottom rose gold portion essentially. So I want to get that colored and get that scented and get it reasonably well mixed so it's thicker than the rest of the soap, so it will hold essentially the cloud on top of it to allow us to do the mini raindrops. Now, with this particular scent blend, again, Soap & Kidlet number 1, she wanted a flower blend, and I don't like florals. I'm not a fan. I don't do florals, but she loves florals. So I had this blend that I have only used for bath bombs up to this point, and it is actually a pretty cool, floral blend. So it has honeysuckle, jasmine, and lilac. It's a very spring floral, and as far as florals go, it's perfectly lovely. So we will use that for this soap recipe and see what it does. I've never used it in cold process before. I've never done this pour before. It's all a first time experience here, so it's fun. Now that the first portion of the rose gold has been put into the mold, I'm going to weigh out about 18 ounces or so for the remaining top portion of the rose gold, right? So that goes on the top of the bar. And the rest of the batter that's left in the big Pyrex, that will be white, and that will be put in the middle of the bar there on top of the first layer of the rose gold. Now, this isn't really like a proper layered soap, so you don't really have to wait for it to firm up too terribly much. Because again, remember, for this soap, I do want the cloud in the middle, and so I want it to sort of look kind of bubbly and not just really, straight, strict lines. Now, for the rose gold, honestly, most of the time for the top of the bar, I wait until the very last, minute to put in my essential oils and my colors or what have you before I pour. But I did want to make sure that the color of the top portion matched the stuff that was already in the mold. And so for that reason, I went ahead and tinted and scented it, right away. And the rest of the blend, of the scent blend, goes into the white. And we will, then mix that up and pour it on top of the rose gold, and then get ready to do the actual squeeze bottle things. Now, this soap batter, so far, it's looking really great, and there's nothing really terribly wrong with any of it. I mean, not that anything would ever be wrong necessarily, because it's soap, like nothing can really go wrong except for my beer soap. Remember that? That was fun. I did that on purpose, guys. Jeez. But yeah, so it's okay. This is thicker than I would like to have for a mini teardrop, or as the case may be, raindrop, because that's what we're doing. Because it's going to move. I'm afraid with this thick of a white layer, the batter is going to sort of, I don't know, create like ravines instead of just kind of moving enough to allow the fluid batter of the, raindrops inside. I think it's going to create some actual, it's a little bit too thick is my point with all of this. So, it's okay. We're going to figure it out. It's going to be fun. Again, first pour. They're not always perfect on your first try. In fact, I think a lot of people would say they're rarely perfect on your first try, myself included. You're always kind of modifying your soap recipes and your batches from pour to pour to, sort of continue to up your soapy game. Now, the containers that have all the colors for the mini raindrops, right? I did not put any scent into any of those. I also did not put any kaolin clay into any of those because I wanted to keep it reasonably fluid. Now, with the squeeze bottle technique for the mini teardrops, raindrops, we are working with a bit of a problem here. And the biggest problem is named Mrs. Soap and Clay did not want to find 6 separate squeeze bottles. So we're working with 2. And also, Mrs. Soap and Clay could not find 2, tops. So we're working with 1. But that's okay. We're going to make it work. Now, we are going to insert the tip of the pipette there that we have taped to the squeeze bottle into the soap batter, and we will be gently squeezing it as we work the length of the mold. Therefore, putting some more the soap batter down into the white portion. And then I am just gonna kind of work with the color wheel as far as putting in the next color into which squeeze bottle, because I have 2, again, that I can play with. And I'm gonna squeeze out from the pipette until the next color is sort of, represented. And then I will do the exact same thing with the next color, laying it down. And look at that, it's zipping up the white batter over the first, red pink color. But as you can see, the white batter, it's a little thick, and that's not, super great. But I think it's going to be cool when it's all said and done. And we will move on to the yellow here. And again, it zips up the top of the white over the orange. It's creating a cool, closure of the teardrop ahead of it, really. And what I did cut out in this video that you're not seeing, because it's a really long process bar, is after each pour, after each pass with the squeeze bottle, anything that was left over in the squeeze bottle, I squeezed back into its container, its appropriately colored container, to remove the majority of the soap that's inside the squeeze bottles, so I could then put in the next color. And yellow to green makes sense. We're going to put in the blue over the yellow to green, stuff that's the residual that's left in the squeeze bottle to do that. And again, squeezing the everything that's left in the pipette out until the next color is represented in the squeeze. So take it and put it back into its green container until you see some blue. Oh, there you go. Good, cool. Let's roll with that. Let's do the thing. And same concept. You're gonna just put it in and give it nice equal pressure down the length of the mold, squeezing the squeeze bottle as you run the length of the mold to put the color in. This is the technique for a mini teardrop, and again, we're calling it a raindrop because Aowen wanted raindrops and rainbows, and it's the same concept: raindrop, teardrop, whatever. It's all cool. Now I'm going to use the red one that I only use for red and orange to put the purple in because purple is closer to whatever. And that will be the final teardrop or raindrop color that we put into the white. And the white will then be covered up with the rose gold. Now, for second batch, I did things a little bit differently. I put more white in for the cloud because I wanted to be able to cover these lines up with a little bit more white. So because look how you can see the colors of the 6 different teardrops. They're going to be touching the rose gold portion at this point, and that's not really what I wanted. I wanted the different colored raindrops to be actually sort of contained within the white cloud, and that's not what I got with this pour, but that is what I got with the next batch that we did, because I used more white for the the cloud, and I held some of that back so I could top it off and then put the rose gold over the top. Now, remember earlier when I was saying I usually never scent anything until right before it's time to pour it into the mold? This is why. Every scent, even if it says it doesn't accelerate trace, it is actually accelerating trace, especially if you're not paying attention to it and it's just sitting. And while that portion of me, putting in the raindrops seemed kind of short, it was not at all. That was a rather long process. And so the scented and colored rose gold portion for the top was just sitting in the container for about 15-20 minutes, not being touched, not being moved, and as a result it thickened up. So I have a very thick batter that I'm working with over the top of the cloud and the raindrops. And for this pour, that's actually fine, because literally all we have to do with the top of the final layer is get it on and have it firmed up and ready to go. So it's okay if it's thicker. It doesn't need to be swirled into the layers beneath it. It's all good. Now, for the remaining colored portion that I was sort of squeezing out of the squeeze bottles back into their individual beakers, I'm going to take that color and put it on top of the bar to create what I'm hoping will be a fun rainbow on the top with the remaining soap batter. And it will be fun. And this is, just kind of an extra step to ensure that, again, all of the soap batter ends up in the actual soap itself. You can make, scratch and dent soaps with this and have a little container to make, your everything but the kitchen sink bar or whatever. And by your, I mean, that's what I do, and it's fun. So yeah, cool. But again, I like to make sure that the recipes are as precise as possible, right? So if this is sized for, this particular batch that we're working with here, it's sized for 12 5.25 ounce soaps. I want all of those soaps to be, 5.25 ounces. And so in order to do that, we have to make sure that we get all of the ounceage, back into the actual soap mold. So that is why I am doing the rainbow top. Soap and Clay Kidlet number 1 did not ask for a rainbow top, but I had extra soap batter, so that's what I was going to use it for. Now, this particular, it's very interesting. You see the difference between the fluidity of the colored portion that we're using for the rainbow there versus how thick the final layer of the rose gold was, right? This is an example of a scent accelerating trace. And again, I've never actually worked with this particular floral blend in cold process before. I've used it for, I think, a bath bomb for the spring line, and it was delightful, it was cool, but I've never actually tested it in cold process, which is a bit of a gamble, honestly. If you're doing a soap for the first time and doing a scent blend for the first time, anything could happen. And the thing that happened is that it accelerated trace in the portions that were actually scented. Because remember, I didn't scent the colored portions, just the rose gold and the white, right? So it's an interesting thing to sort of look at when you play with portions of your soap batter that's not scented versus, the portions that are, to just see how much of an impact essential oils or fragrance oils or whatever you're working with actually does have on the thickness of the soap batter. Now, this is, I don't know if you've ever heard of a peacock swirl, but a peacock swirl is essentially, there's this cool tool that you can use that has nails and whatever, and you can just drag it down the entirety of the mold and do exactly what I'm doing here in one fell swoop. But I don't know what peacock foot is, and this is just as easy as, finding it. So that's what I have done here. I have pulled all of the colors sort of into themselves to create a cool little rainbow effect on the top of the bar. And this guy will be C-popped overnight. We're going to force this thing through gel, and we will cut it tomorrow to see what the cloud and the raindrops look like. So now we're on to the cut. This has sat in the oven overnight. This was C-popped. This was forced through gel, and you can tell that by the beautiful color on top. Isn't that beautiful? All of the colored portions definitely retained, their vibrance, and that's good. And here we are. We are bringing out Mr. Soap and Clay's soap mold. He actually fixed this for me, the soap cutter. because it was kind of, you know, janky or whatever, and he is in the process of making me a new one, so, you know, stay tuned for that. But I was told that not having the cut in actually did take a level of, you know, satisfaction from the video. So here's your cut with the coolest soap cutter to ever exist in the history of ever. And again, I am being sincere, it's a really amazing soap cutter. It's just not pretty because I made Mr. Soap and Clay make it out of plywood and MDF. That is pretty though. Look at that. That's super awesome. That's so bright and fun. Not rose gold though, right? That guava lava, that colorant did not stay true to color at all. And I kind of suspected it wouldn't. Again, I'm drawing a blank as to why I purchased it in the first place, but it was not for cold processed soap because I've never used it in cold processed soap. And it can't be for lip things because again, it's not lip safe, but that's so pretty. That's amazing. Now, for the next round of these soaps, I'm looking at, you see the white in the middle there? It's actually a little bit too stark of a line. It's too straight of a line for the white part. That one's okay. I really did want some more sort of like bubbly, it looks like a cloud thing in the middle of the soap. And for the next batch, I actually did kind of mess with the bottom layer, and I sculpted it a little bit to allow for a more cloud-esque like that one. And that's what, you know, the new ones all look like. But yeah, for this batch, again, first batch, it's always trial and error. You're always trying to figure out, you know, what works and what doesn't. And as far as I'm concerned, this actually worked out pretty well. Again, the mini teardrops, they're not exactly teardrops, they're not raindrops. They're more like paint lines, but that's still pretty cool. And yeah, for AO and soap, I think it's a success. That is day 58, Raindrops and Rainbows, brand new pour for the Soap and Clay Kidlet #1.
So there you have it, day 58, Rainbows and Raindrops. And yeah, you know, first time for this pour, literally flying with just my daughter's soapy vision and not even like a sketched out version of it. I think we did pretty all right. I showed her the bar and she smiled and was very happy, and she smelled it and said, it smells like flowers, and very happy as well. So it was a win. She loves it. The bar itself, it's cool. You know, it worked out. It got a little bit too thick to like do a proper, you know, mini teardrop throughout it to do the rainbow raindrops, but I think it all ended up working out anyway. I like how it sort of looks like paint going through the clouds. That was cool. Anyway, if you are interested in this bar, it is available on the website at soapandclay.com. You can get it for a limited time. Once these batches are gone, it's gone. If you have any ideas for a soap, you know, let me know. You can send me a message. You can drop a comment below. We'll play with your creative ideas too and see if I mess those up. And yeah, you can follow me on social media if you're interested in doing that. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And if you are interested in more soapy antics, we are doing this literally daily. So hit the subscribe button. Tell your friends to hit the subscribe button. It helps me grow, and that's awesome. And that's kind of it for me today. So thank you so much for joining me for another round of 365 Days of Soap, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.